Pete must have heard the show. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he heard the show out in Colorado or not, but it sounded like he did because he had his best game of the year so far. He had 2 home runs, 2 bombs of home runs. Now, both of them were like over 450 feet or whatever. Now, it's a little, the thin air in Colorado aids that a little bit, but he had 2 absolutely monster shots. Got another hit as well, went 3 for 5. Did strike out his last 2 times, fishing at bad pitches, which he's done just much too much of this year. There's no doubt about that. But he bounced back in a big way yesterday, and the Mets gave you a nice, easy, tidy 9-1 blowout of Colorado to take 2 out of 3 in the series. They started the game with 4 extra base hits in a row. Alonso caps it with the home run. He got a big 2-run home run from Mark Vientos. How good has he been? Yesterday, hit his 17th home run of the game. Got solid 5 innings from David Peterson. One thing about David Peterson, okay? And he's pitched well. He's 6-1. His ERA's 3.3, whatever it is. I don't know what the numbers are. The Mets have won. I think the Mets might be 9-2 or 10-2, something like that, in the games that Peterson has started. But he's got to give me more than 5 innings. I mean, he's a 5-inning pitcher. And I was getting worried he wasn't going to get out of the 5th inning because if you remember, he got in trouble. He wound up getting the bases loaded and really got saved by a tremendous play by Tyrone Taylor in left center field. Just a tremendous play that really saved him. Could have been, a double, bases clearing double, triple, whatever. It turned out to be just a sac fly because Taylor made a great play. And Taylor made like 3 or 4 terrific catches yesterday. And I got to throw this out there. You got a couple hits in the game as well. Tyrone Taylor has been phenomenal for the Mets. Let's be honest about it. If you're watching the Mets every day, you're a Met fan like I am, how good has this guy been? On both ends, offensively and defensively. So when the ever-injured Starling Marte comes back, and I know he's in the minor leagues right now, are you going to tell me that we're going to take at-bats, that Mendoza's going to take at-bats away from Taylor and Bader to play Marte? Really? Why? At this point, and I'm sure they're going to probably do that because he's still under contract. I don't know, he's making pretty decent money and all of that. But, you got it. Tyrone Taylor's got to play. I mean, I'm sorry. And the plays he made yesterday. Keith Hernandez keeps saying how this is the best, and I agree with this. And I know they made some errors. The other day I saw Lindor made an error when he kind of nonchalanted the ball, even though it really didn't hurt him. You saw that pass ball by Alvarez that cost him a run the other day and all that. But whatever. But Keith Hernandez, and he's dead on about this, keeps saying this is the best defensive team the Mets have had in a long time. And I'll tell you, I agree with him. And when you got Bader and Taylor out in the outfield, and you got, obviously Lindor, Iglesias either playing second base or even third base. I mean, and Alvarez behind the plate has been very good. I know he had the pass ball, like I said, that cost him a run the other day. In the game, I guess it was the game they won 5-3, the game 2 nights ago, Lindor with the game-winning hit in the 9th inning. I mean, it's true. And even Alonso's gotten better defensively. A lot of people get down on Alonso defensively. Look, is he Keith Hernandez? No. Is he Don Mattingly? No. But he's a much better defensive player than he gets credit for being. He really is. And I agree. I couldn't agree more with Hernandez. This is the best defensive team that we have seen from the Mets in a long time. And a big part of it is Tyrone Taylor, and he was phenomenal. Yes, I mean, he made 3 terrific plays. One ball that was going toward the line, down a left field line, that he took a double away from somebody. That play I mentioned with Peterson in the 5th inning, he made another big catch as well against the wall. I think was he in right field at that point and made the catch against the wall in right field? Whatever it was. He's been terrific defensively. But getting back to Peterson, he's got to give me more than 5 innings and 88 pitches or whatever, and he always seems to be in trouble in the 5th inning. Always. They showed his ERA in the 5th inning. It's like, 8 or 9. It's pretty high. So, as good as Peterson has been, and he's been pretty solid, he's been much better than I ever thought that he could ever be. He's been with the Mets now for a while. I mean, I got to see more than 5 innings from David Peterson, but a good win yesterday. They take 2 out of 3 from Colorado, and they're now 4-3 on this crazy, 10-game road trip as they head to Seattle now to play the Mariners. Mariners have some pretty good pitching on the Mariners. Just at least get one. Don't get swept. That's how I look at this. I said all along, I'd love to see 6-4. I would settle for 5-5. Get one more in Seattle at minimum. And if you get out of this trip at 5-5, not too bad. And as we wake up this morning, the Mets are actually in the third wild card spot as the Atlanta Braves are just fading and fading fast. They got whacked again yesterday. Milwaukee blew them out. I think 16-7 was the final score of that game. So right now, we wake up the three wild card teams. What is it? Arizona, San Diego, and the Mets in that third wild card spot in the National League. So that was a really good win yesterday. And look, I mean, if you're a Met fan right now, there's 61-54. Now, the high watermark has been 7 games over 500, and they have not been able to get to that 8 over 500 mark. We'll see if they can do it tonight. Jose Quintana, who's actually pitched pretty good overall, will get the start tonight for the Mets. They were given, Cohen and Keith were given a stat yesterday that the Mets, and this is, it's very hard to believe, and I know the Mets have walked a lot of guys this year, but the Mets have given up the least amount of hits of any pitching staff in the National League. I was shocked to see that. And they were comparing it to Colorado, who's given up the most hits, and Colorado's given up like 250 more hits than the Mets have. Now, I know it's Colorado and their pitching stinks, and I get all that, but yeah, that's a pretty impressive stat. The least amount of hits by any pitching staff in the Major League, or at least in the National League. I don't know about the Major Leagues. I was very surprised to hear that. So right now, you know, you're a Met fan. Life is good. I mean, let's be honest. And I'll say this again. Nobody, I know Pete was saying he thought it was 80. Pete Hoffman, who was a big Met fan, he'd said 86 wins this year before the season. I give him credit for that because I had no expectation level. And I was down on David Stearns. You know, I didn't want him, small market guy. Let's be honest, David, I gotta give you an apology because the moves that you have made, just think of the guys that Stearns has brought in here and how good they've been. We mentioned Tyrone Taylor. We mentioned Harrison Bader. How about Luis Torrens? How good has he been? I know Severino has, had a couple bad starts now the last couple times out, but overall he's been good. How good's Sean Manaea? All of a sudden, Sean Manaea, he looks like Randy Johnson out there. I mean, come on. Yeah, he brought Sean Manaea in. I mean, he's been terrific. I mean, we're going right on down the line. I mean, I'm sure. Iglesias, how about him? How good is he? OMG, how good has Iglesias been? I mean, it's crazy. You got to give him credit. He finally brought Vientos up and just said, here, play third base and look at the job he does. Like I said, he had his 17th home run yesterday. I mean, you got to give him credit. I have no problem being wrong when it comes to my sports teams, when it turns out that they are much better than I could ever imagine they were. And I've been wrong about it. I've been wrong. This guy has done a terrific job bringing in the players that he has. Even what he did around at the trade deadline, he didn't mess around with the team. He brought in guys like, Maton out of the bullpen. He brought in this guy Blackburn, who I never heard of, from Oakland, who's had 2 solid starts in a row now. I mean, you gotta be thrilled. You really do. And the manager, I love the manager. I got to tell you, I love him. How did the Yankees let this guy get away? How did the Yankees let any of the guys that they let get away? Torrens, how about him? Severino, But Mendoza's been outstanding. I can't say enough good things about Carlos Mendoza. I think he's on track to be the manager of the year in my mind. I mean, he's done a terrific job with this team. He kept them together when they looked like they were done, back in May. What else can you say? So if you're a Met fan today, look, I don't think they're going to sweep Seattle out there. Seattle's a good team. Tough place to play. It's the back end now of this eternal road trip where, they had to go from Anaheim to St. Louis to Colorado to Seattle. I mean, it's insane when you think about it. So at least get me one in Seattle and get a 500 road trip, and then we'll go from there. If they get 2, great. If somehow they sweep, we're delirious. But right now, the state of the Mets is pretty good. And for everybody that can't wait to get rid of Pete Alonso, look, this guy, he's a lifetime Met. And in a bad year, and I understand it's his walk year, and you expect more. In a bad year, the guy's got 25 home runs, and he's got like 60-something RBIs now. So, let's see where we go from here. But I was very, very, very pleasantly surprised yesterday watching the Mets just beat up on the Colorado Rockies. That was absolutely terrific. It really was. So, you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, man, because I thought the worst of this team this year, and they're showing me something. And you know what? I said on Jerry's show the other day, I didn't think the Mets will make the playoffs. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are going to make the playoffs, especially with the way the Braves have just are caving. I mean, there's no other way to say it. So, nice win yesterday, and let's see what they do tonight. Like I said, Quintana on the mound as they will take on the Mariners in Seattle. As far as the Yankees go, I mean, I watched the Met game, took some time off a little bit, put the Yankee game on, and they're getting destroyed. They're getting whacked. Cortez is getting beat up. They lose to the Angels 9-4. How about the Angels? I mean, they're not any good, right? They take 4 out of 6 between the Mets and the Yankees. 4 out of 6. And they win 2 games in Yankee Stadium. All right, the Mets lost twice out there. 2 in Yankee Stadium. So how about that? It just goes to show. And this is why, baseball, you play 162 games. I know too many people that view baseball like they view football, and you can't do that. Because anybody can beat anybody. Not that can't happen in any sport, but anybody can beat anybody when you're talking about 162 games of the baseball season. Anything. Yeah, you can lose to anybody. These are all still major leaguers. You could even lose to the White Sox, right? I mean, Oakland did. I don't know. Did they play last night again? They're done, right? They didn't play last night, did they, the White Sox? I think they were off. I don't know. But nevertheless, the Mets do play the White Sox. Oh, yeah, they did. That's right. They fired him. Right. That's a joke, too. So they let this guy, what's his name? Gramal? Is that his name? Grifal. Okay. So the White Sox, Jerry Reinsdorf, I heard Russo talking about this. I'm glad you brought it up. They fired him, man. They let this guy, this stinks. This really does. They let this guy, they know the team stinks, okay? We know the team's not any good. They let this guy lose 21 freaking straight games in a row. They finally win a game. Then they lose again, and they get rid of him. We let you suffer through. Why didn't they fire him, 10 games into the losing streak? Why didn't they? 15 games into the losing streak. Why didn't they fire him then? They waited till they lost 21 in a row, and then they won a game, and then they dumped him? Come on. That's a joke. That's really, to me, I got a major problem with that. Right? I mean, the guy wasn't any good. You let him lose all these freaking games, and then you win a game, and then you dump him. Come on. And really? Can you let the guy finish the year out? You know you're not going anywhere. What's the difference? Let him finish the year, and then you let him go. I thought that was a really cheesy move, if you will, by Reinsdorf and the White Sox. What do you want to say, Pete?
Well, did you hear who they replaced him with now for the interim right now?
No, I did not. Who is it?
Grady Sizemore.
Grady Sizemore, the old Cleveland Indian?
The old Cleveland Indian who got hurt every season.
Every year, yeah.
I'm worried he might get hurt from the bench. Is that possible?
Look, guys that are consistently hurt. Like I said, Marte will come back, but, he'll get hurt in a week again. And so, Grady Sizemore. Wow, unbelievable. The White Sox are a disaster. I said this. We were talking about this on Jerry's show the other day. When I was growing up, and obviously, I'm an old man. When I was growing up, there was 16 teams in Major League Baseball. I started really watching baseball in 1961. I remember the 1960 World Series with the Pirates and the Yankees. But, as far as following an idea of what was going on in the season, I was 8 years old. Roger and Mickey, 61, the home run chase and all of that. That's the first year that I really started paying attention to what was going on in baseball. And in 1961, I guess the Angels and the new Washington Senators did come into the American League in 1961. So I think by that point there was 18 teams, I guess, in baseball. But when you look at the teams that have been around forever, right? The teams that go back to the 19 teens and even before that, and the 20s or whatever. You look at those teams. Is there any team that has given you less than the Chicago White Sox? Anybody? I mean, tell me. Is there? I mean, we had the Black Sox scandal in 1919. I don't think they won another pennant until 1959 with the Go-Go White Sox, with Aparicio and Nellie Fox and, guys like that. And they lost in the World Series to the Dodgers in 6 games, 1959. And then they finally won a World Series in 2005, the year after the Red Sox finally won, in 2004, right? Ozzie Guillen was the manager. They win that year. So that's 19 years ago now. But, I mean, outside of that, they've given you nothing. And we talk about, how the Mets are kind of are the second-class citizen, right, to the Yankees in New York right now. And they are, but they're a pretty heavy second-class citizen. You know what I mean? Like the Yankees are number one. But the Mets are, still a pretty big deal. I mean, baseball in New York is huge. And the Met fans, plenty of Met fans, okay? We got a lot of them. Passionate group because we don't win much either. That's for sure. But you look at Chicago, I mean, the gap between the Cubs, and the Cubs haven't exactly, they won one World Series in 100 years. I mean, let's be honest about that too. But the difference between the Cubs and the White Sox is monstrous when you think about it. I mean, the gap between the two is absolutely huge. And to me, of all the old-time baseball teams that have been around like forever, nobody has done less than the Chicago White Sox. Nobody. It's really unbelievable when you think about it.